This video is going to show you how to check your belt, power steering fluid, your brake fluid. You want to check your pulley system, make sure everything looks good. You want to know which dipstick is your oil, which is transmission fluid. Oil is going to be yellow, transmission fluid's in the back. We want to check our engine coolant levels to make sure they're the right levels so we don't mess up our engine. We're going to move to checking the transmission fluid. You always want to check the transmission fluid with the engine running. It needs to be at full temperature, full running temperature. You take it out, clean it off, put it back in there, and then we'll get our reading. There's a hot and cold reading on it. You want to look for the hot one. The engine is running. The cold reading is not as accurate as the hot reading. We'll get a close-up on that, try to see if we can show you what it looks like. But as for this fleet, the transmission fluid levels are where they need to be, so we are good to go. We'll clean off the dipstick because of dirt and debris. We don't want that going back into our fluids, and then we'll put our dipstick back in. Next, we move on to checking the oil. Same thing, you want to pull it out, clean it off. You want to check your oil with your engine turned off. It needs to be cooled off for about 5 minutes. We're going to reinsert our dipstick, pull it back out, and we're going to check our engine oil levels. Most engine dipsticks, they're easy to read, you can tell. If you're low on oil or whatever, we need to get any type of fluids back into the vehicle that we need, so that way it's running at the right rate that it needs to be. This video is going to show you how to check your tire pressure. We'll remove the cap, take our pressure gauge and put it on the valve stem, take the pressure of the tire. If it's good, we'll move on to the next. You always want to make sure you check all 4 tires. If there's one low tire, it can cause an accident, especially if you're carrying heavy freight. We want to make sure we get those tires aired up before we go anywhere. This tire is showing a PSI of 30. It's going to need some air. So hopefully if you have some air around the shop or wherever you're at, you can get those tires aired up before you move the vehicle. We'll move on to the next tire. Same thing. Check the pressure on it. That one's a little low as well. As you can tell from the tires in the video, they're not in the best of shape. Those will need to be replaced, especially if you're going to be carrying heavy freight. At the time of the video, the tires just have not been replaced yet. After all 4 tires are checked, we make sure you get the proper air inflation, and then we'll be ready to drive. In this video, we show you that the truck sometimes can show you the tire pressure. We don't always want to go by that. It's never always right. The next thing we want to check is we want to check all of our lights, blinkers, bright lights were working. Move around to the back. You always want to have somebody with you so we can make sure if there's any lights out, we can get them replaced. It's hard to do by yourself. You're going to check your brake lights, hit them twice, blinkers. Then you want to check, see if your license plate lights are working.
Take the chain out of the bag and lay it down on the ground. Release the red tensioning chain from the spring-loaded ratchet. Separate the side chain from the flat red plate and undo the male-female fitting which connects the 2 pieces of cable together. Untangle the chains, lay them out in front of the tire as shown, with the split at the base of the tire so that it can fit the tire without moving the vehicle. Neatly lay it out so that it's totally untangled. Okay. Slide the chain behind the tire as shown so that the one end of the cable appears on the other side of the tire. Pull that out. Once again, untangle it on both sides of the tire, allowing the split of the chain to form itself around the base of the tire. Standing in front of the tire now, pick up the blue cable with your left hand, the yellow cable with your right hand. Connect the male-female fitting of the cables on the top of the tire. Push it gently behind the top of the tire. Take the flat red plate connector, put together both pieces of side chain at the 12 o'clock position on the outside of the tire. Connect the red tensioning chain to the ratchet tensioner. Pass it through the tensioner. Pull it as tight as possible. Pull the rubber tensioner on the red tensioning chain through the loops on the side chain. Pull the chains once again, as the tensioning chain as tight as possible. Pull it diagonally so that it's tight. Hook it on the outer side chain. Move the vehicle at this time about 15